table saw. I want to cover some of the parts of the table saw first, and you can take a look at that. Anyway, here are some of the main parts. We've got a fence, and the fence will slide back and forth. So that you know how far the fence is away from the blade, we've got a scale. And that scale will tell us the distance between the inside of the blade to the fence. It doesn't count the curve that the saw blade will make. Okay? But anyway, there's a scale for that. I've got a fence lockdown lever. We've got the switch. We've got down below here, we have a bevel which turns the blade to its side at different degrees. A bevel hand wheel and a bevel gauge right here. We've got the blade depth hand wheel right here. We've got the insert, or we've got the table here in the front. We've got the insert, and also I have a miter gauge. The miter gauge is used in case I need to cut at a little bit of an angle. And finally we have a blade guard, and right behind it I have a splitter guard. The splitter guard is for oftentimes in which we cut wood and we're ripping it, meaning we're going with the grain. There's internal stress in that wood. And as it cuts it, it will come around on the back side of the blade and it will pinch together. And when it pinches together, it pinches back on the blade. And when that happens, it wants to kick back. All right? Well, the splitter guard keeps that space open so that it cannot pinch the blade. Okay? Those are the main parts that we need to work with. Whenever I'm using a table saw, I want to handle the fence. I want to handle that basically in the middle of the fence. Okay? I want to double check if I'm setting the saw, measure the front of the blade as well as measuring at the back of the blade to make sure those distances are equal. All right? Safety concerns, obviously always want to have safety glasses. Okay? The other thing is, I do not want to stand directly in front of this blade during startup. I want to stand on one side. If there happens to be a loose carbide tooth, it might come flying off at startup. So don't stand directly behind it when you're first starting up the blade. All right? If I need some help, I'll have somebody help me tail it off. If I'm cutting something less than 6 inches wide, I want to use a push stick. Okay? Other things, loose fitting clothing needs to be tight. I need to watch that I don't have long hair, tie it back or get it underneath a ball cap. Don't necessarily want to talk to people when I'm operating the saw. One of the other things I've got to be very aware of is that I can cut across the grain, cut going across the grain, or I can cut with the grain. When I cut with the grain, that is called ripping. All right. Most of all of our ripping operations are going to be done on this saw. When I take a board and lengthwise and I cut it lengthwise, that's ripping, or I'm cutting with the grain. If I'm cutting across the grain, I don't want to use the fence. The fence has got to be off to the side. I'll take a piece of wood and I want to cut going across the grain. I'll put it in my miter gauge. Okay? And I will stand here, grab it, and come across here like that. All right? So most all of our cross cutting will not be done on this saw. We will hardly ever cross cut. In fact, we may never ever cross cut using this table saw. If I were to do some cross cutting, it would be with the power miter box. Okay? So this saw is basically, we use it for ripping. Okay? All right? One of the things that I've got I want to note is the blade depth. The blade depth should be set at a height in which it clears the stock by 1/4 of an inch. The rule is don't set the blade any higher than you'd like to be cut. Okay, so we don't want to have it protrude inches above the stock itself. We don't need to have that much blade exposed. All right, let me take a look through here, see if there's anything else that I'm not looking at right away. Freehand sawing, I've watched guys do this. Not use a fence or not use a miter gauge and freehand saw. It's probably one really dangerous thing to do, so we don't want to have any of that. You're either going to use a miter gauge or the fence. Keep things cleaned up. If you're not sure what's going on, you need a little refresher course, I can refresh you on anything like that. Other than the not sawing wood, or make sure the wood doesn't have any nails or sand or that type of thing on it, and all the nails are removed. And then, of course, you can't cut warped wood either. All right. Questions at all on the table saw? Okay.